Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Writer's Journey. Today, we're going to be talking about my Sword Art Online story. To give you guys kind of like a spoiler for tomorrow and the day after, I recorded those before I recorded these because uh, most of the stories I forgot I wrote. The story I told about last week, this story, and the Digimon story were all ones I have forgotten. I wrote until I was going through all my notebooks that have my writings in it. Um, so yeah. Um, we're gonna jump right into Sword Art Online One Man Army. I had this concept. So if you haven't watched Sword Art Online, spoiler warning. So in the first arc of Sword Art Online, they go to Aincrad and they get stuck there, and it's a death game after that. Um, it's a 100% a death game, and yeah, it's a lot of not good things going on. Um, Kirito, the main character, he gets a special ability because I think it was like his what a D&D nerd like me would see as dexterity, and he basically is able to use two swords at once. He becomes the hero character wielding two swords, and then the main villain uh basically gets like the ultimate shield. So like he's the ultimate attacker and he's the ultimate defender. So I had this concept of like, well, what if there were other special abilities in the game that weren't discovered because of whatever reason? And so that I can't remember every single one of them, but there was a guild called the Clouded Blade, and the leader Stravix, Stravix, basically his was called One Man Army, and he was able to switch weapon to weapon without having to go to his menu. Just a mere thought, and his basically like a hotkey. Like that was his ability, was hotkey. Um, and like Nova had like basically like infinite throwing knives. I forgot what I called his. It was like Bladed Storm or something like that. Some lame. But yeah, One Man Army was like the main character, and it's like the final day of Aincrad, and like the Laughing Coffin attack his home. They kill his girlfriend and like three other members of the Clouded Blade. There's only like 7 members total, and it was like moments. It was like moments after his girlfriend died. Aincrad was beaten. So it was like they were like 2 seconds away from being able to be saved. Like even though she was dying, she could have been like if she would have just held on like 2 more seconds, she would have lived. This is already longer than the last review. So then like they basically go through therapy, and part of the therapy is like a flooding technique where they just say like, okay, we're gonna send you to Alfheim. And so I think I made him into a Spriggan, which are like the dark elves of Alfheim. And he does briefly meet Kirito and then like that's the end. Like you never really see Kirito again in the book. He gets with Alicia, which was the leader of the cat people, the cat sea. Um and yeah, he becomes like a mercenary for the cat sea. I always liked mercenary characters. I always liked I really have no allegiance other than who I choose to have an allegiance with, rather than I have an allegiance to my people or I have an allegiance to my king. And he's not like that. He's like, no, I don't have an allegiance with anyone. I have an allegiance with whoever's paying me and the cat sea. So like he's with the cat sea because his girlfriend is the leader of the cat sea. If it wasn't for that, he would just be a renegade mercenary. But he gets paid like a certain amount like every week to continue being a bodyguard because that's his official job, is her bodyguard. So yeah, there was like, and then like I basically just played the game, and like it didn't matter if they died or anything like that, but it was just like one big role play. And like if I was to write it again, because I would totally write this again, if I wrote this again, I would have it to where they weren't actually dating, that it was just this elaborate role play to help him get through his trauma of losing someone he did love. And like that was going to be that would be the idea of if this guy trying to take a break from being himself for a bit, and then when he is himself, him dealing with the trauma of what he saw in SAO. And so to be able to freely live this dual lives without the pressure of it being a lie. Because I think a lot of people do role play to get over trauma. I think a lot of people use D&D and other such things to express their sadness or their frustration and things of that nature. I remember in my D&D campaign in episode 2, it was the same day we put down my cat. It was either the same day we put down my cat or it was the week after. And one of my player characters can see spirits. And so I had the spirit of a cat present. And at the very end, it was the cat going to the afterlife. And that was my way of saying goodbye to my cat. So yeah, that would be like the ideal story. Anyways, again, I would totally write this again if I had time. But outside of that, I think the entire story would be different. I would keep the beginning the same, of it being the final day of Aincrad and people dying. I might even have it to where everyone dies, and then have like the therapist like, well, you know what? Like, I know you might be scared, but I think keeping yourself from doing things that you love because you're afraid of them now is unhealthy. And I want you to try to play like 30 minutes. And then, as you start getting better, play longer. And that's what he does. And I think it would be a dual story of Stravix and who he is in real life. And like him portraying this character that would represent his trauma and try to get through that through the game, and then apply what he's learned through the game into real life in terms of how he's interacted with people and all that stuff. I probably wouldn't make him like a one-man army, because that was just because I really wanted a cool power. But yeah, I like writing more heartfelt stories, and that's probably what I would do is make this character go through his trauma and try to break through the chains that it holds him in. Anyways, everybody, I'll see you guys. This is the last 2 episodes of The Writer's Journey. Have an awesome day and a good night.